Hello everyone, welcome back to Ramon at Home. I am Ramon, a Christmas design expert and floral designer here to help you feel more comfortable about your designs. And in today's video, we're starting our fall season 2024. You guys, I cannot believe fall is just around the corner, well, in the design industry anyways. And in this video, I'm going to give you 3 super easy wreath DIYs for fall 2024. You know, I'm always telling you, you get only one chance to make a first impression, and that is at the front door. So I decided that I'm going to share 3 of the easiest fall wreath DIY ideas that I've ever done. I really think you're going to enjoy them. So if you are interested in knowing how to create a gorgeous fall wreath for your front door, please stay tuned. Don't forget to like the video and share with your friends on Facebook, on Instagram, and on WhatsApp, because it is free and it really helps this channel. And if you're new to the channel, remember, my name is Ramon, a Christmas design expert and floral designer, here to make you feel more comfortable about your designs. All right, you guys, we're gonna get started with fall wreath DIY idea number 1. Let's take a look. All right, so for our next fall DIY, what we're going to do is a beautiful and affordable wreath for your front door. This is going to be absolutely gorgeous due to the selection of ribbons that I have chosen. They have these beautiful truck and pumpkins, and this is where I selected my colors from. It has the orange and the yellow of the pumpkins and the red of the truck. So what I've done is I selected a contrasting ribbon, which is going to be our inspiration ribbon, this right here, and then also this beautiful yellow burlap that I absolutely love. And this is a good way to get all of your colors that you may want to use. If you see right here, has the orange, the blue, the white, the creams, and all of those colors. I'm gonna use a selection of greeneries in the yellow for our pumpkin, and then also in the orange for our pumpkin. I'm gonna use 3 little pumpkins right here, and then also 3 sunflowers. I'm going to use a piece of foam, and then some burlap ribbon that I just had laying around. At this point, you can use any ribbon that you like. And I'm gonna use some wooden stakes that you can find at any local craft store. All right, so I'm gonna move all of my, and of course our wreath form, you can find this at any craft store or even at your dollar store. I'm sure they sell those too as well. So what I'm going to do is I'm gonna move some of my things over to this side so that I can work freely over here and share with you how we're gonna create this beautiful wreath. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to show you that this was just a regular pumpkin, and on our earlier project I shared with you how we're gonna use the longer pick to create a DIY. Well, guess what? We're also gonna use this short one right here. So what I'm going to do is I'm gonna bring my glue over to this side, and I'm gonna smear glue all over my picks. This was one of the floral picks that I had, and just make sure that you are generous on your glue. Swirl it around like this, and what we're going to do is we're gonna grab our pumpkin that came without a stem, and I'm going to basically just insert this right here and poke it really, really strongly like this, and we're gonna let it cool down, sitting upside down while we work on our wreath. All right, so our first order of things is going to be to cover our wreath form, and for that I'm gonna use some of this burlap ribbon that I already had. And you may already have seen me do this. So what you want to do is you want to start with a longer stretch right here and then go really tightly. And I'm going to cover this whole wreath form, so it's going to serve as a base to our wreath. And if you are enjoying these videos, you guys, be sure to share them with your friends so they can come and join us here at Ramon at Home. I'm having so much fun sharing with you the fall season, and I cannot wait for you guys to see what we're planning for the holiday season. You know that Christmas here at Ramon at Home, we do it big, and this year we're going all the way in, or all the way in, kind of like when you're gambling. I don't gamble, but I've heard them people say before, I'm going all in. Well, this year we're going to go all in, and we are super excited to just bring you all brand new decorating ideas, DIYs, of course a home tour. You know, we can not do a season right here without a home tour, and I'm super excited to reveal the theme for the home tour this year, which is going to be coming out in a video really soon. If you do not have your notification bell on, be sure to notify or turn that notification bell on so you are notified about all of the upcoming DIYs for fall, for Christmas, and so that you can be the first ones to see. And I try to spend a few minutes there in the comment section a day so that I can answer some of those comments that you guys so graciously leave here for the channel. All right, so I'm halfway down, so I'm gonna continue wrapping this form, and I'll be right back with you to give you the next step, so keep watching. All right, so now that we've gotten to the end of our ribbon, what I'm going to do is I'm going to seal this with my hot glue gun. So what I'm going to do is I'm gonna grab my hot glue gun and add some glue at the end. And I'm just gonna make sure that very carefully so I don't burn myself. Put that down, and because it is burlap, you guys, it really latches on really, really quick. All right, so I'm gonna leave that to cool down. And what I'm going to do is I'm gonna put this the way I want it, which will be like that. And so I have a piece of foam that I gather, and what I'm going to do is I'm gonna grab some of the same glue right here, and I'm gonna be very generous with it because I'm going to glue this right here, like this. That's gonna serve us to put our picks and florals. And so what I'm going to do to double secure, so I'm gonna grab some of this burlap, and you know what? First I'm gonna kind of stretch it like this to make sure that it's not gonna use a lot of that foam. And so what I'm going to do is I'm gonna grab right here. I'm gonna really, really tightly, making sure that I get the center as tight as you can. And then we're going to knot it as tight as you can. And that with the glue and with that knot is going to secure our foam into place. And you're not gonna have to worry about it coming off. All right, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to share with you how I'm going to do the ribbons. First, I'm going to grab some of this beautiful striped ribbon, and I use a pin, a corsage pin, to secure it. So I wanna do tails with this. So I'm gonna do this much tail. So it's gonna be about 2 feet tail. And I'm gonna do 2 of them. And I'm gonna cut right here. And I always like to put my pin back on, so that way I don't, first of all, lose the pin, and second of all, so my ribbon doesn't come unraveled, so that secures your pin. All right, so what I'm going to is, this is gonna be just tails. And I'm going to pinch right here, and I'm gonna grab one of these skewers, and I'm gonna put it right here, and then I'm going to just swirl this skewer around. You can find these little picks with a wire at your local craft store. I know Shinoda sells them. That's where I got mine. So you can call them and ask them for it. So we're gonna have these tails right here. I'm gonna add some glue to the pick. Super easy. And this is just going to be tails. So I'm gonna go up like that right there in the middle. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut some dart tails. And I want one longer than the other one, so I'm gonna cut one shorter. And so this is what they're going to look like, and I will share with you on the door. You won't be able to see the tails right now, but you'll see them later, and they'll make sense. All right, so then the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to actually first do our greenery. So let's do our greeneries. And so I'm gonna cut some of these at the same time, all of them very short, because I just wanna cover all of that. Remember to save that little part right here, because you never know when you're gonna use it for a pumpkin, right? So I'm gonna do 2 of these. You can find some of these picks at Hobby Lobby, Walmart, or even at your dollar store. They don't have to be very expensive because we're gonna be using just to cover the foam. Like I said, we're gonna make sure that they are super tight on that foam. We're just trying to cover all of the perimeter of our foam so you don't see it. And remember to go down as well, because you wanna make sure that all of that foam is covered. So remember, what happens on the right happens on the left. What goes up must come down. And then you might want to also spill it forward like this. Look at that. And radiate everything from the middle. Remember, there has got to be a core where everything radiates from, because that's what's going to make your arrangement even more balanced and beautiful. So I'm going to use all of that like that. So basically, I just covered my foam like that. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to use some of these longer ones. I saved some of the longer ones so that we have some coming all the way up like this. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to do from the same space coming out like this, like that. And then I'm gonna do one forward like that. So 3 on one side, and I'm gonna do 2 on this side. And this one is extra long, so we're gonna cut a little bit of it. And then I'm gonna do over to this side right here. And look how much bigger that little wreath already got just by adding some longer forms of greenery, right? All right, so then the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add some of our ribbon, not this one, the one with the truck. And for this particular design, what we're going to do is we're going to do 2 tails, and I'm gonna do single loops. This is gonna be very different, nothing we've ever done before. So basically what we're going to do is we're going to do a loop like this, and we want it to be pretty big. So I wanna say it's probably about a 10 to 11 inch loop. Then we're going to twist like that, and we're going to cut right here. And we're gonna grab this little pick once again, and we're gonna tie all of this together to our pick. And remember to always put the design part to the front. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to add this guy right here, going that way. Look at that. And so I'm gonna dovetail my ribbon. This is a very affordable way to make a wreath, you guys. You won't spend more than a few dollars to make a gorgeous wreath, I promise. Okay, so we have one going this way, so now I'm going to repeat on the other side. So we're gonna give it a tail, we're going to do a loop. Remember to always pinch, 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 gather, pinch, then make that loop. Isn't this ribbon really cute with the little trucks? This ribbon came from Michael's, if I'm not mistaken. You can find it at Michael's. All right, so we're gonna go like this. We're gonna grab our little pin that has the wire, and we're going to wire all of this together like this. And so now what we're going to do is we're gonna go like this, and this is what's gonna create our bow. Look at that. And just make sure that you see all of those ribbons, and we're gonna cut this one short. Always at a dovetail. Remember, if I come to your home and your ribbon's not dovetail, most likely I will ask you for a pair of scissors so that I can do it for you. I'm always looking for dovetails. All right, so that is the 2 loop bows. And so now what I'm going to do is I'm gonna grab our yellow burlap ribbon. And this is a 1.5 inch ribbon. And that is the secret to this method, that you want to use different widths of ribbon to create something even more beautiful. I'm gonna put my hot glue gun over here so you guys can see. So I'm gonna grab this 1.5 ribbon, and I'm going to do the exact same thing. So I'm gonna do a little loop, or a little tail, sorry, like that. I'm going to do a loop that it's probably about, I wanna say about 10 inch loop, like that. We're gonna twist, even though there is no design, just so that we don't lose that you know, that we always do it. And then we're going to loop like this, and look at this. I'm going to add this ribbon right here, right next to our other bow, and we're going to dovetail also at different widths. This is so much fun, and it is kind of like a super easy way to make a beautiful wreath in a different way. Look at all those tails, you guys. How is that not absolutely gorgeous? All right, so I'm gonna do the other side now, and I'm gonna explain to you why I'm doing this. Is because if I was to do the bow right here, I would not be able to put my flowers and my pumpkins and still have room for them to breathe, right? So we want to make sure that we have room for that pumpkin to breathe and for that sunflower to breathe, so that way it's not too tight and packed in there. So the best way to do that is to separate the bows. So instead of making basically one bow, a large bow with all of the ribbons, you can separate them, and then also you can manipulate them even better. Look, I'm going to insert this one right here. Actually, I'm gonna insert this one on the other side like that, and then I'm going to fluff. And see how it makes that bow even bigger? This one is not dovetail. Before I forget it, let me put that scissor through it. Always cut at an angle going up from the wire. And look at that. All right, so now here's where it all makes sense, because I'm going to grab this pumpkin, the large one that we got. I'm gonna cut it a little bit shorter, like that. This is the one that we put that skewer on. And I'm gonna sit her right here on the middle. And see how that bow just made sense? Just by adding that. And then I'm going to grab this orange one. I'm gonna cut it shorter. Then I'm gonna put it going up right here. on our foam. Look at that. And that bow, if you see how it just makes much more sense. Then I have this other green pumpkin I was going to add over here. You know what I am going to? And I'm gonna add this pumpkin right here, making sure that I go through my foam. And so now I have a few sunflowers I want to add. So what I'm going to do is I'm gonna cut them a little bit shorter. And I'm just gonna add 2. So I'm going to add one right here. And then I'm going to add another one over on the other side. Remember, what happens on the right happens on the left. So I'm gonna go over to this side right here. And I'm going to, there you go, insert like that. So now what I'm going to do is I'm gonna fluff all of these ribbons and I'm gonna put this on the door and share with you how easy it is to create a fantastic fall DIY wreath for your front door. Keep watching. All right, everyone, to create this fabulous wreath, I have to give you the instructions. So the very first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to tie some wires into my pumpkin around the base, and I'm gonna do one wire going to the left and one going to the right. It's divided in half, so I have 2 wires that I'm going to use to attach. Then what I did is I just went ahead and put some skewers right here, so my pumpkin is going to sit right in it, and then we're going to tie it. However, I want to make a bow first because I want to have a bow with longer tails, and I'm going to use for that some of this check ribbon, because you guys know that I love this check ribbon with burlap, and I have a whole collection or a whole playlist that I'm going to link up right here with this particular theme, which I call rustic pumpkin theme. And I have from door swag, centerpieces, all kinds of DIYs. And then also I'm gonna use some of this burlap. All right, so let's get started. And I'm gonna give you the materials as we go, so that way, well, this video doesn't take forever to make. So what I'm going to do is I'm gonna start by making a cute little bow, and I'm gonna give it probably about a foot tail. And the easiest way to make a bow, you guys, is just by folding upwards and just going with, as you guys can see, with the sign of the ribbon. Because this is not printed, then you don't have to really twist and do all that pinching and stuff. And then what I'm going to do is I'm gonna grab this tail right here, and I'm gonna put it right here in the middle. So I'm gonna give it some long tails, and as you guys, it's taking shape. And then what I'm going to do is I'm gonna do one tiny little loop going up right here. Once again, this ribbon is printed on both sides. So what I'm going to do is I'm just gonna go ahead and fold, and it is super simple. As you guys can see, all you have to do is fold right there and then fold right here. So that's 2 that are gonna go up, and then I'm gonna do 2 go down, 1 right here. If you don't know how to make a bow, I'm gonna put a video in the description box below that I have on how to make 3 types of bows. That is super fun and super simple, and you guys are really going to learn a lot from it. So I'm gonna go ahead and fold one more time right here. And the giveaway has one of these bolts of ribbon with this particular ribbon, so you guys can create something like this. All right, so as you can see, I have some longer tails, some shorter tails. We'll take care of it in a second. What I'm going to do is I'm gonna go ahead and grab my wire, and I'm gonna put it right in the middle. Then I'm going to pull back, making sure that all of the ribbons are going through the wire. That is like the hardest part about making a bow, is like getting all of these ribbons ready. All right, so now that they're all in, I'm gonna go ahead and pull really tight. And I'm gonna pinch. And you guys know that I always like to fluff at the end because there's going to be so many elements. So I'm going to go ahead and tie that right here. And I'm gonna go all the way to the back, and I'm going to tie it. Thumbs up, you guys, for this season 2021. I hope that you enjoyed and learned watching these videos, but let me tell you, Christmas is going to be so much fun. And actually, I want to do a question of the day is, which of all of the fall DIYs that we did here, Ramon, was your favorite? Was it a wreath, a centerpiece, a lantern. We did so many great ideas, and I really hope that you guys enjoy them. I had so much fun putting them together. All right, so leave that comment down below, okay? All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and grab my pumpkin. I'm gonna put that, it has a hole. This pumpkin is from Hobby Lobby, so it has a hole right here. I have lifted one of the vines up. And so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna deposit my pumpkin right here. And as you guys can see, the bow helps it stay there. However, I'm going to go ahead and tie it because we don't want a gust of wind to come and to take our pumpkin away. So then what I'm going to do is I'm just gonna go ahead and cut the excess of this wire right here. And I have my trash right here. And I'm gonna tie the other side just as tight to make sure that that pumpkin is not going anywhere with any gust of wind. So I am making this wreath for my mother for her fall season in her door. So I'm going to make sure that it's all glued together and put together properly as if it was for sale. I know so many of you guys sell your wreaths, so this is a good one to watch because I'm going to give you all the instructions on how to make a wreath properly. So then what you want to do is you want to bring in your bows and you want to fluff a little bit. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and dovetail. Remember, if I come to your house and your ribbons are not dovetail, I'm gonna ask you for your pair of scissors because there is no reason why this is not dovetail. It just takes an extra second. All right, and you might want to go ahead and stagger them up. So like I feel like this one needs to be a shorter one. So I'm just gonna go ahead and cut that right there. Perfect. And then this one also, I'm gonna make it a shorter one. Just let your eye really dictate like how many long ones, how many short ones you may want hanging down. Like this one I'm also going to cut short. And you guys are gonna see this on the door when I hang it. So it's gonna be so much fun. All right, so far that looks really, really cute. But it is time to add some of the greeneries. And for that I have selected a variety of greeneries, and these are from Walmart. And so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna start constructing something going up. And I'm going to go ahead and turn my glue up a little bit. Now I'm gonna start up here. I'm gonna start where I want to finish. So I'm gonna grab my wire cutters. If your stems are too thick, please feel free to cut your stems because you already paid for them. So you wanna make sure that you are just using your materials properly. All right, so remember what happens on the right happens on the left. And for this particular project, what I want to do is I wanna go ahead and go on the inside as well, because I want to make sure that this pumpkin is supported by all of the foliages. So that it looks like the pumpkin is sitting on a patch of greenery. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and remember to always give it a curvature like this. So it kind of goes in. Then what I'm going to do is what goes in must come out. If you guys been following the channel, you know that I always give you those instructions because it really helps to balance your wreaths and centerpieces and swags. And so if you're making them to sell, then that's the right way. See how it's filling out all the way out? And I'm just gonna use a few of this because we do have other greeneries that I want to add. So I'm gonna go on the outside of this, and I'm just gonna tack some of them right here so it looks like there's some support in here. So I'm gonna go ahead and do one on my right here. See how it looks like it's starting to look more like it's got support right here. And then in a second, I'm gonna show you a trick on how to really give it that natural look. Because if you are using flowers, and that's another tip that I can give you, anytime that you're using flowers on any wreath swag or anything that you're making that is gonna have a floral, you have to put some sort of greenery because you cannot have flowers without greenery unless you're making a pave flower arrangement. I want to show you how we're going to continue by adding some other types of greeneries, and for that I selected this really pretty eucalyptus. Now I have my pick machine right here because this particular eucalyptus has a really thin stem. So what I like to do is I like to put a steel pick on it, and then I like to give it a curvature right here, and I'm going to start by dipping into my glue, and I'm going to start right here on the bottom. And what I like about these eucalyptus is because it's very dainty, and see how I'm pushing it forward because I want it to really spill forward and create more of a three-dimensional feel. And the way you do that is just by giving it a little bit of a curvature to your foliage. If you don't have a steel pick machine, you can find one on Amazon.com. I'm gonna link one down below so you guys can order one if you are making your wreaths for sale, and if you're making them for your family members, that you might want to go ahead and invest in one of these little tools. It is a tool of the florist world, and well, we florists cannot live without them. So I say we florists, like I still work in the industry. I did work in the industry for over 10 years, so not longer practicing. Sometimes once in a while I do a wedding or I do like a party, but I don't really work as a florist anymore. But I did work as one for a long time. All right, remember what happens on the left happens on the right. And we're gonna go ahead and add some eucalyptus just about the same place as we did the other one. Like that. And then also I wanna bring some on the outside. So I'm gonna do a few more so it has a little bit more of a girth. I'm gonna add one over here on the side. I want it to be as thick on the sides as it is on the middle where the pumpkin is. So I'm gonna bring one right here. Just go like that on the outside. Oh, make sure that you don't burn yourself, because this really hurts if you do burn yourself. All right, so what happens on the left happens on the right. And so I'm just gonna go ahead and add yet another one right here. And then I'm gonna stagger down, but for this time, because they're gonna be closer, I wanna make sure that they are thicker, so I'm not gonna cut any of it. I'm just gonna go ahead and dip into the glue the way it is. I'm gonna lower my temperature a little bit. Then I'm gonna open up right here, and I'm gonna go as far in as I can, like that. And see how it's spilling forward? That's the way I like the wreaths, because it makes it look more natural when you have that spillage forward than actually just sitting flat on the wreath. So I'm gonna go ahead and dip this here. And I'm gonna push as far in. Look how fun this is. All right, so now what I'm going to do is I'm gonna bring some of these beautiful sunflowers, and I'm gonna start with this. I'm gonna cut them short. There is no need for you to pick these ones because the stem is pretty thick. Just make sure that you cut them at an angle so they go into the grapevine. Now these ones I do want to go further in to the vine, so that way it looks more natural. I'm gonna do the same with this one right here. I'm gonna dip into my glue. And as you guys can see, you don't really need a lot of material to create something beautiful like this. Then I'm gonna go ahead and put that one right there. And I'm gonna repeat the same on the other side. Just gonna cut this one a little bit shorter. I'm gonna insert this. What happens on the left has to happen over here on the right. And I'm just gonna go ahead and put that sunflower right there. And then I'm gonna bring one, but I'm gonna bring it closer. So I'm going to make sure that I cut it even shorter. And then I'm gonna grab all of the petals. I'm gonna kind of bend it in half so I can get some of that glue, making sure that my petals don't go into the glue. And then I'm gonna open right here, and I'm gonna add this sunflower right here. How fun is that? That is so cute. All right, so then what I have some of these wispy materials, and you can find some of this at Hobby Lobby. I know they have it right now available. So what I want is I wanted to like create an airiness to it. So what I'm going to do is I'm gonna dip into my glue, and I'm gonna start bringing some of this viney material, and look how that looks like a vine, kind of like a pumpkin grows on a vine. So what I'm going to do is I'm just gonna go ahead and add a few of them in random places to give it a three-dimensional look to it. So I'm gonna add another one right here. Look how fun that is. And then I'm going to bring one over here. And this is what I like about making wreaths, because every wreath can be different. You know, there's no two wreaths that look the same, and that's the way I like my wreaths, because they are one of a kind. You know, I worked in an industry where everything that we did, every arrangement, every wreath was just one of a kind. I'm gonna put these ones facing down. So I'm gonna grab this one right here, and I'm gonna stick it right here, facing down. And I'm gonna add the same, I'm gonna give it a little bit of curvature. I'm gonna add some glue to it. And then I'm going to go on this side. So now what I have is some of these pumpkins from Hobby Lobby, and I wanna add just a few. So I'm gonna go ahead and give it a curvature like this. And I'm going to go ahead and add this guy right here and make sure that it goes all the way through the vine, just right here to support my pumpkin, making sure that I fluff my bow as I go so I don't lose it. And then I have this other one right here that I'm going to insert over on that side, just giving it a curvature like this. I'm going to go ahead and insert this guy right here. Let's see. You have to go with the grain of the wreath. And just like that, you have a beautiful wreath, but I do have to dovetail this guy. You know what? I recommend you dovetail at the end because that way you don't mess with your ribbon. Look how beautiful that is. All right, everyone, so I just want to show you how beautiful the wreath looks on the front door. And as you can see, the galvanized pumpkin really does add a little touch of modern to this rather rustic wreath. And I love the little touch of the ribbon with the burlap, and then also the black and white check, and all of the little pumpkins and gourds and the white sunflowers really make for a modern looking wreath. What do you think? All right, everyone, so for this last fall DIY, what I wanted to share with you is a wreath that is also going to be used as a candle ring. And for that, I selected this ring. Actually, I already had it. I think this comes from some craft store. You're gonna use some of your florist tape and a wire. I'm gonna use flowers in the terracotta, the pearl, and then also this brown right here, and some foliages as well. Now, this is going to be to go with the last week's collection. If you have not seen last week's collection video, I'm going to link it down below. I shared with you 5 amazing fall DIYs that were on the neutral palette color, and I really wanted to share this one with you, but well, I ran out of time. So we're gonna do it today. So what I'm going to do is I'm gonna start by taping my wire. And so what I'm going to do is I'm gonna put my tape right here. I'm gonna bring my wire, and this is a florist tape that you can find at Hobby Lobby or anywhere where craft supplies are sold. You will find this on the florist area. The reason why we tape a wire is so that when we work with it, it doesn't hurt our fingers when you're working on the floral industry. And then also it gives you grip, and it makes you work easier with wire, because if you pull on it, you're not gonna harm your fingers. And it has this wax texture, so if you are a florist or aspiring florist, I recommend you get yourself some of that. All right, so what I'm going to is I'm gonna grab my form right here, and I'm gonna give it a little bit of a loop like this, and then I'm going to go like this, and I'm going to do it again over on this side. And the tackiness of that tape really allows that wire to hang on. See how easy it is to make a door hanger. All right, so now what I'm going to is I'm gonna add, oh, let me get my wire cutters, you guys. I've been working all day, and my neighbor is vacuuming her car, and so I have to stop and start over, stop and start over. So I'm gonna cut this a little bit shorter, and what I'm going to do is I'm gonna start right here, going to my right. And remember, when we do a wreath, we keep it all going on the same motion, because that is how a wreath is made. So you wanna make sure that you go all one side, and you don't do north-south. You wanna do them, see, if I put this one like going like that, then it won't be as balanced, as beautiful. So what I'm going to do is I'm just gonna go one run around all the way around with this beautiful foliage. And I just love this neutral palette, you guys, because it really lends itself to creating beautiful decor pieces, and it's just neutral for everybody. Like if you have a neutral palette home, it's perfect, but if you have a colorful palette home, then it just tones it down a little bit, and it really does create more drama by having this. So I'm gonna go all the way around, like I said, just inserting some of these foliages, and just make sure that you insert all the way down. And see, there's a gap right here. This is usually where we tend to forget, because our arm is closer to that area, but we have to go in there and just add. So now that we've finished the perimeter going outside, what we want to do is go on the inside. So we want to add some of this foliage in the inside of the perimeter, so that way it looks thicker and fuller. And this is going to be done with basically just a few dollars. You really don't have to spend a lot of money if you have a smaller door, if you live in an apartment, or if you live somewhere where there's just smaller doors. You don't have to spend a whole bunch of money. You can create something beautiful. And like I said, it's dual purpose because it's going to also be our Kindle ring. All right, so now I'm gonna start with these florals right here. I'm gonna start with the terracotta ones. And what I'm going to do is I'm gonna cut them short as well. And I'm gonna start right here on the top and giving them just a little bit of give. I wanna say probably about 2 inches. And I'm going to start tightly inserting those flowers and skipping where the foliage is, because we do want to see some of that foliage. And that's why I love these affordable flowers, because look, you can really get an impact with these florals. And I'm sorry if you can hear my neighbor vacuuming her car, but you know, it's just what it is. All right, so, and if you're watching, neighbor, sorry, I had to bring it up. I know she watches once in a while. She tells me, oh, I've seen your video on YouTube. All right, so now I'm going to continue right here. And I'm going to do a third of it. So you have as many flowers. You want to make sure that this is as packed as possible. Because remember, we did a centerpiece that was ombre style. And so I wanted to make this to go with that centerpiece. And so we're doing a third of it. So basically, I'm going to move on to my next flower, which is going to be this one right here. And I'm going to put them over on this side, and I'm going to do the exact same thing, and I'm going to insert some of these flowers by packing them really tight, skipping the foliage, because I do want that texture of the foliage. And so I'm going to start right there. And the thing is that we do have to cut every single one very short. The easiest way to do this is like if you do one on the back, then you do one on the front, and then you go ahead and do one on the side, so that way it is super packed. And then we're going to repeat on the other side. At this point, it's basically 2 sides of the wreath because you don't do the middle. So I'm gonna do one right here. And I'm going to insert one on the front right here, making sure that it's tight. And then one over on the side or the back, and see how tight that is. I'm gonna do one more row. After that, I'm going to do the mums. I'm gonna speed this up because it's very self-explanatory. I'll be right back with you. Keep watching. All right, I am back just to give you a few more tips, and that is that we have the darkest color right here on the top. We graduated to the lighter one, and so what you want to do so is ombre. You want to go ahead and grab one of the flowers from the top and put it at the very bottom of the next layer, and that's going to make it blend in. And you have to do that on each side, because remember, what happens on the right happens on the left. So I'm gonna go over to this side, and that kind of graduates to the next color. So now the reason why I didn't finish right here, I'm just gonna leave my foliage pop out, is because I want to make a cute little bow for our wreath, because you know, it's not a wreath, it's not a Ramon at home wreath without any ribbon, right? So I'm going to do one real quick. So I'm going to give, and I want it to be longer tails. So I'm gonna pinch right here, and then I'm going to do a 4-loop bow, and basically you have to do twist, pinch, and then do an X, so that way your bow is really even. And then do an X right here. And I want it to be very loopy and a lot of tails. So what I'm going to do is I'm gonna give it 3 tails. And the way I'm gonna do that is to bring that up like this. You know, I'm gonna use all the ribbon because I already bought it, so why not? So what I'm going to do is I'm gonna pinch right here, and you're gonna be left with this big loop right here. We're gonna cut into 2 tails. You grab your wire, and you wire all of this together like so. And once you have it all tied together, we're gonna go in here where our space is, and I'm gonna actually take it out from the back, and I'm gonna twist it really tight to make sure that it's really tight. And then what we're going to do is we're going to cut our dovetails. So we're gonna do one right here, and this one that is like this, you guys, you just cut it basically like this. And I do want to stagger my dovetails, so I'm gonna make sure that there's like a staggering motion going on right here, so that way there's more texture in my wreath. So I'm gonna do that like this. Let me see, and I feel like I could do a few more flowers right there. I'm gonna finish that, put it on the door, and show you what it looks like. Keep watching. So which one was your favorite? I cannot wait to read your comments, so be sure to leave me a comment down below and let me know which out of the 3 full wreath DIYs was your favorite. And I'm going to put a playlist right here with a plethora of other fall decorating DIYs and designs to inspire you to create something beautiful this fall season. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you're new to the channel, consider subscribing. And as always, you can watch more videos right now. Until next time, bye.